All right, you guys, today you are going to do an experiment at home. You're going to be doing the paper airplane experiment. It is going to test your knowledge over the scientific method, possibly safety if you needed to practice that, and independent and dependent variables. So online, you are going to have your lab. It's going to be digital for you guys. And each kid should have a copy for yourself, so you won't be typing on the same copy as someone else. So once you open the document, it is yours. So directions for today. I know you can read, but I'm going to read them to you. You're going to create a paper airplane that will fly the farthest using 3 trials. We're going to do this 3 times, okay? You're going to develop a question. So what are you testing? You're going to identify independent variables and dependent variables. Independent means I changed it, and then the dependent is how you measure it. Okay, so we'll talk more about those in a second. You're going to design the experiment, so how you're going to do it. You're going to collect data and then graph and analyze it, which means to study it and come up with some answers to some questions. And then at the very end, you're going to make a conclusion to state whether your hypothesis was correct or incorrect. All right, so when doing the lab today, there are some things you need to remember. First off, you're going to make 3 paper airplanes, 3, okay? Now, here's the part that gets confusing. The independent variable is what you're going to change today, and there are 3 choices that you can choose. The first choice is you could change the type of paper you're using. The second choice is you could change the model of your airplane, so what does it look like? And then the third choice is you can change the weight of your paper airplane. So if you wanted to add a penny or a paper clip or something to the model to change it. So again, those are 3 things you can change, but you are only going to pick one of those to change today, just one of those. So you're either going to pick paper type, design type, or weight. So pick one before you even get started. Okay? That is what we call the independent variable. That is what I am changing in the experiment. And so for my example today, I'm going to be testing out paper. So most paper airplanes are made out of notebook paper because you're at school. So this is going to be my control. And then my other 2 types of paper I'm going to test are going to be construction paper because it's thicker and regular white copy paper. So that is going to be the variable I change. I'm changing paper type, so that's the independent variable. So if you choose one of the other 2, that's your variable. So you're going to get going on your experiment after this, but the first thing you have to do, so before you even fold the paper, I need you to state the question. So your question of inquiry today, let me get that right, is going to be, what are you trying to find out? So if you're using different paper, your question would be, if I change the paper type, will it change the distance the plane flies? If you're changing the design, then your question would be, if I change the design of my paper airplane, will it change the distance it flies? And then if you're changing the weight, your question would be, if I change the weight of my paper airplane, how far would it fly? So you're going to come up with your question first. Okay. So let's say you don't know how to make a paper airplane. I'm not good at it, but some of you might be. Use the internet or, search it up. There are so many different designs. You could go simple, you could go super technical, but you pick, okay? Then you're going to form your hypothesis. So remember, a hypothesis is an if-then statement. Please do not write I think. That's what you used in elementary school. So as we get older and we're putting things in better sentences, we are going to use an if-then statement. So it might sound like this. If I change the paper type, then the plane would fly farther. You might even say, by changing the type of paper to construction paper, the plane will fly farther. So you could even get more detailed with that. You don't actually have to write if blah, 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 then this will happen. You can turn it into a sentence. By changing the type of paper, I think it will change the distance that the plane flies. Okay, so you're going to get that more detailed sentence. Okay, so you've got your question and you've got your hypothesis. Now you're going to get to the testing part. So you've got your materials, you've decided what test you're going to do, and now you're going to do the experiment. So you're going to fold your paper airplane, and of each type of paper or each design or the weight, whatever you want to do, and you're going to test it. So experimenting means actually doing it, okay, you guys? And while you're doing it, identify your independent variable, what I change, and then your dependent variable is what is getting measured, okay? So if you're changing the paper type, then your dependent would be how far it flies according to type. And that's actually the case in all three. So independent is what I change, dependent is how far it goes. Okay, next we're going to identify the constant. Now remember, the constant keeps the experiment fair. So it's the one thing that's going to stay the same the entire time. So maybe it's the design of the plane staying the same, or the paper type is staying the same, or the weight is staying the same. And then you have your control. Now, control is what we're comparing everything to. So I'm going to compare my planes to a paper airplane made of notebook paper, not comparing it to construction or white paper. Okay, then we're going to list out our materials, what all you use, not what I'm using, what you're using at home. And then down here is the part where it's going to probably get very technical for you. You're going to put the steps down. So like number 1, read over the lab sheet. 2, collect your supplies. 3, decide what variable you're testing. 4, find the design of your paper airplane. Okay, do you see how I'm splitting that up and it's really detailed? So you got to think, if I'm handing this paper to someone else, can they follow the instructions? I want you to think about elementary school. Your teachers used to have you write if I made a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, and then, well, I did this in 4th grade. We were learning writing skills, and our teacher read our papers and made a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. So if you said, get out the peanut butter and get out the jelly, she would get them out and set them on the table. Get out the bread. She would set it on the table. And then she would say, put the jelly on the bread. Now put the peanut butter on the bread. So she would take the jar of jelly, set it on the loaf of bread. Take the peanut butter jar, set it on the loaf of bread. Because you didn't say, unscrew the lid, take a knife, get out the jelly. She was following those instructions. So it really taught us how to be more detailed in our writing. So when you're doing this, I want you to think about that. If I could hand this to someone else, would they be able to follow my instructions? Okay? And then the next step, you're going to analyze your data. So you're going to have your experiment. You're going to think about what happened. Did the paper work? Did it not work? And you're going to put your results in a table. So your document online is going to have this table. Now, important things you're going to need to remember here. When you're recording distance, I need you to record it in meters or centimeters, not feet, not inches. You should have a ruler at home from your school supply list. So let me grab mine. If you have the old school ruler and this is all you got, you're going to have to make it work, right? Because we're at home, so we're trying our best. But you got inches on one side, we got the centimeters on the other, okay? So remember, centimeters are the baby lines. That's how I try to tell people. And then every time you measure, you're going to write centimeters behind, or meters behind your number. So like if you put 10 here, it would have to say 10 centimeters. Because if you just put 10, I don't know what you measure with. Big feet, boogers, cows, I don't know. So make sure you put your units of measurement there, okay? And then the last part of your lab is going to be, if you could choose to graph it, because we try to put a graph in here, it's way too hard online. So if you could make a graph, what would the graph be? Or what type would it be? And then last, your conclusion. This is the end of your thing. Like, hey, what happened? So give me a little paragraph, 3 sentences, 3 to 5. You can give me 3. I know you can. So you would put something like, my hypothesis was not correct. That's a sentence, okay? I changed the type of paper, but it didn't change the distance the plane flight. Next time I will. So conclusions are very important. You state, was your hypothesis correct? Then you kind of sum up what happened. And then last, you could always put next time I will. So when you do the experiment again, you would have a next time and you would change something. All right. I'm always here, phone call, email. You can message me on Google Classroom. I'm pretty quick at getting those done. So whatever you guys need, please be in touch. I know some of y'all can't Zoom or you don't want to Zoom, so that's okay. It's not required. But I do like to see your faces and actually feel like I'm teaching somebody and not this empty classroom. Okay, good luck, have fun, and record your answers. See you later.